Hello there. Before we get started on today's episode, I'd like to ask a short favor. If you're interested in either of the two books that I have written and am about to release, head on over to my website at theanxioustruth.com/books. There you can learn about both books, one of which is free, and you can get on my mailing list to be notified when each book is released and how you can get it. I would really appreciate that. Okay, let's get rolling. Hey, what's up, dudes and dudettes? Drew, thatanxietyguy.com, back again with my friend Monique Coven, all the way from Canada with her wisdom and kindness and smileys.
Oh, thank you.
Welcome. Happy to be here again. This is our second take. Again, technical difficulties. Ruin everything. So today, we have a good topic today. This is right up Monique's alley. We're going to talk about thoughts and how maybe not to be dragged around by them. The fact that you do not have to follow every single thought that comes in your head. So since this is kind of your bailiwick, and I think you have more to add to it than I do, I'm going to let you start. Tell me about what the issue is with thinking. Why is it a problem sometimes?
Essentially, I mean, this was revolutionary. I mean, I thought I understood about thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I know nothing. Because as I started to really understand our design, the way we're created, the way we work psychologically, I started to see that as human beings, we feel our thinking physically, somatically.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we have a thought, whether it's true or not, whether it's, something happy, something sad, a traumatic thought, whatever it is, we're going to experience it somatically. We're going to feel our thinking.
Sure.
Huge for me when I started to recognize that we're living in the feeling of our thinking moment to moment. And therefore, a lot of our thinking feels real because we have the physical sensations. We're responding. Our body's responding to our thoughts. We get the physical sensations of it. So even if it's a thought that's not true, because we feel it, we make stories about it and we conclude that it's real. And that is a really big problem for us, in that it's like it's hidden. Because we have eyes, we see what's going on, but we don't really see what's invisible, which is our thinking. And so I think that it's the fact that I didn't get all the things off my to-do list that's making me anxious, or it's because I've been on the couch too long that's making me anxious and I didn't get enough stuff done, or whatever it is. And I would blame out there, and I didn't understand that really there's this whole invisible experience that we don't see that's creating a lot of our feelings, and it becomes our experience of life.
Sure, that makes perfect sense, actually. It really does. And so we're kind of conditioned to a certain extent to honor our thoughts and our feelings. And you hear this so much, especially in sort of the self-help, mental health space, especially, I'll just say it, these days when everybody that can breathe can become an expert and put up a channel and start talking about this stuff. We hear that stuff all the time. Check in with yourself, honor yourself, and I'm with you. We have to love ourselves and all those things. But it's almost counterintuitive. Like, you do not have to honor every single thought you have. Like, it's not required. In fact, we were talking about it in our first take on this. If you look at some of the great philosophies, and a lot of the stuff that you hear online is based in Taoism, Buddhism, and those sort of things, and all the memes and the lakes with the calm lakes and all that stuff, is based on those things that say your thoughts are not you, or it's really your thoughts and your reaction to the world that matters. It's not the actual world. So, and I think it's so hard for people to grasp that sometimes, that it's not the fact that your wrist hurts. It's the fact that you feel that and then think, I must have a life-threatening blood clot.
Exactly. And it's really, like I call it, it's like this huge illusion that we're under, because we don't see. We're physical people. We see what's in front of us. And we don't see, what's underneath. And that for me has been revolutionary, because I never knew I was feeling my moment. That was mind blowing when I started into that. I thought I was feeling the world. And when you're feeling the world, oh my God, you feel like a helpless victim, because we all know we can't control, what's going to come next, what's going to happen.
Correct.
It's nice to know there's one place to look, and that's within us, in our mind, what's happening inside us.
Yeah. And I think that's why people who get themselves into agoraphobic situations or they start to severely limit their lifestyle to only be in their safe or comfortable places or situations, there's that lack of understanding that says, but you don't understand the problem. You're bringing the problem with you everywhere. So the problem exists on your sofa, in your bedroom, in your living room, at your favorite farm, or wherever you think is safe. Those thoughts are still with you. So yeah, it almost doesn't matter. The place, the situation doesn't matter. It never matters.
You know,
Yeah.
I heard something somewhere, podcast or something, they were talking about, I don't know, millionaires who win lotteries, and it shows that like 5 years later, they're in the same place.
Yes.
And why is that? Well, that's because the thinking is still going on. That hasn't changed. I'm going to introduce to you, I'm not going to take the credit for it. I'm going to give the credit to where it deserves, which I saw this and learned this from Dr. Amy Johnson, but it's something that's been extremely helpful when I work with my clients.
Yeah.
And we have this chatty, can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. Yeah.
This is our chatty narrative self. That's the part that is talking and that is saying, be careful, you better do this, you better do that, hurry up, all this kind of stuff. And it's going on nonstop. And a lot of that is conditioned. I
Mhm.
call it's a computer brain, chatting,
Right.
chatting. But we take that as true, as real. What has really helped me was to start to see that that is just my conditioned experiences, and that I don't have to listen and take what it's saying so seriously. I
Mhm.
don't, because actually, think about it. If you would be the way that this voice is with
Mhm.
you to your friends, you
Right.
friends.
Right. They would ignore me and run away.
Yeah, you would
Maybe,
have friends.
maybe they do that.
And yet, this is going on all the time, and a lot of times we're like, yeah, we're agreeing
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
And what I've done is I know it's there, blah 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 blah,
Mm.
but I started to see that I don't have to take my thoughts so seriously. I
Right.
don't. And that's been really helpful, knowing that there's that, and then there's me.
Yeah. And I think it's so foreign to people when I say things like, you are not required to respond to every thought you have. And so many people find that to be like a crazy thing to say. Like, what do you mean I don't have to? But it's my thought. I thought it. Like, I feel it. How do I not? Why? How can I? What are you telling me? But in a way, just like you said, if I was doing that to you, you'd probably hang up the call. You wouldn't want to listen to that.
Right.
And why is it so easy for us to look at other people who are just expressing what's in their own heads and say, he doesn't know what he's talking about, she's a liar, she's fake, he's making stuff up, fake news. Everyone else can make up fake things that aren't true, but everything our brains make up is dead on true all the time. Like, in a way, when you look at it that way, like, your brain produces a hell of a lot of fake news.
Yeah, totally. And again, if you think about it, a lot of it is because it's been conditioned over and
Mhm.
over and over again, and we don't really question it. It's just there, and we think it's us because it's talking in our voice.
Mhm.
And I started to just sense that, oh no, that's not me. I would never want to talk to myself that way. And just kind of seeing that, just having
Yeah.
awareness about it is really helpful.
So I think, and it's good. It's sometimes just, you're right, being aware of it. And I find that people, when they finally grasp the concept of, oh, wait a minute, it is my thoughts that are fueling this. It's not so, and then they get, for at least my audience winds up in that cycle where there might be a sensation, and then the thoughts lead to more sensations, which lead to more thoughts, and it feeds, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of horrible. And when they start to understand that, like, oh, I can have a thought, like, you don't try and stop them. You can't ever stop them. And there's a ton of research that says thought suppression does not work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in fact, somebody who just was it Kim Quinlan? I remember was posting a lot about that on Instagram the other day. But anyway, you're going to have the thoughts. It's okay to have the thought. The problem is what happens after that thought comes initially. So that thought that says, oh, I didn't get anything done today, I'm screwed. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, or the thought that says, what was that? Was that a skipped heartbeat? Am I dying? Either way, they're the same thought, right?
Right.
So you have it. What comes next? What's the difference? What's the difference between letting that thought run away with you and not? So what did you change?
Well, that's really interesting because as soon as I started to get onto this as I was recovering and
Mm-hmm.
related to anxiety
Yeah,
thoughts,
yeah,
my PTSD flashbacks and symptoms,
yeah.
as I started to realize, okay, we'll use anxiety as an example. I would start to see myself, this guy, oh, that's going to happen or this or that, don't do that. And I was onto it. I was onto it. And what I did was, instead of really engaging with it, I knew that if I would engage with it and go with it, I knew exactly what would happen.
Right.
I feel more anxious. And I also knew that if I would start to want to do something with it, because like you said, we don't change our thoughts. I agree
Right.
with you. I don't go there. But if
Yeah.
a lot of people do, a lot of people think they have to do something. Oh, I'm having an anxious thought. Okay, well, I'm happy now, or I'm going to make it positive, or
Right.
that's not helpful either.
No.
That just keeps it going.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Some of the most heat that I've ever gotten was I did a video last year, something called "Positive Self-Talk is Bullshit," and I got a little bit of heat on that because people are like, "What do you mean? I don't. This is self-affirmations. I have to tell myself I'm okay. I have to talk myself down. I have to calm myself down." No, you don't. Like, you don't have to calm yourself down. Like, and you will calm down if you decide just to say, "Oh, I just had a thought that maybe I'm having a stroke," and really all that's happening right now is I'm thinking. So the only accurate description of what's happening right now is, oh, I'm thinking. Done. Story is over. You don't have to engage and try and do what you said. I'm going to change it. I'm going to make it positive. I'm going to visualize
right.
it. Because you never win.
The ending, it just
Yeah.
keeps fire going.
It does.
Yeah.
Because the Chattertooth guy always wins.
Yeah.
He never runs out of energy. Right?
So you asked me, and so that is what happened with me. And as I started to understand that I know what's going to happen if I go with that, and I don't want to feel that,
right.
I started doing it less and less. And we've been doing this forever, so it's not going to change instantly, but it does start with awareness.
Yeah.
Why? See that it's happening, and see that if you're not engaged with it.
Yeah. And I think some of it, to put it back more into your arena, I mean, I can relate it to people who will experience what they will continually argue are impossible to ignore thoughts, because this thought is so scary that what you're telling me doesn't apply, because this thought is really scary. Oh, your thoughts are scary, but this one's really scary. And I think you might, the same might apply to, kind of those flashbacks to these experiences that people have had in their past. Like, how I can't possibly, but what I get is, oh yeah, that makes all kinds of sense. But what happens when I think this? What am I supposed to do with that? And the answer is always the same, right? You keep doing the same thing. So I don't know if that makes sense. So do you treat, for instance, in that PTSD or trauma background, the stress or anxiety over not finishing to-do list and the stress and anxiety over thinking about something terrible that happened to you, literally happened to you 15 years ago, same thing, no? Like, in a way, you're gonna not react to that the same way. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even, yeah, right. So it doesn't matter what you're thinking. What you could be thinking the very worst thing or have the worst memory. It's still the same scenario.
Yeah, when you start to have insight of what's really going on. Because before I knew all this, I used to tell myself, "Oh, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe," and it meant nothing. Out the window.
Yeah.
Didn't fly. I didn't feel safe. But when I started to understand that, this is completely normal. I am having a thought,
right,
or a memory. It's coming to life. Therefore, I'm going to feel it. But it's designed to move through me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to get in there and say, "Okay, so I got to figure out what am I going to do with this? What I have to twist it and make it." We'll feel it, and it wants to move through, and it always does. I mean, we've had so many thoughts during the day that we don't even remember. Why? Because they move through.
Correct.
But when it's a thought that's a little bit more challenging, whether it's an anxious thought that we're scared of, oh, I got to drive here, or that's going to happen, or a symptom and we want to do something with it, we suddenly we keep it stuck and we flow through because we have to do something with it.
One of the greatest things I ever heard was the first introduction that I ever had to you. We sort of somehow connected online. I don't remember how that happened.
Oh.
And you sent me a video and said, "Watch this interview that I did with," I can't remember the woman's name. It was a video interview I done with this person. And I was out for a walk up with my dog, and I was listening in my headphones. And you said, "I just spent years and years and years thinking about, well, I'd have this thought, and then I would have to think, well, I have to get to my therapist and process it. I have to process this." Like, many years of like, I got to do something. I got to process this now. Until you discover, like, no, I don't. Like, this is not to say that the past or your thoughts simply don't matter. They do, but they don't require all your attention and all your energy
Yeah.
all the time.
I just want to say, and I have to be careful because
Yeah.
really important to me, and that is that people who have had trauma, significant trauma, complex
Yes.
childhood, repeated trauma,
Yes.
there is, I don't just go into, oh, it's your thoughts. And of
Oh
course,
no.
we start with being a compassionate witness.
Mhm.
What happened was really horrible.
Yeah.
And you don't have to become a prisoner to, it coming all the time. That's what happened. They would come and they would come, and then I would engage with them and run to this therapist or run to that. But when I started to understand really the mechanism
Mhm.
of what's going on, I just felt a lot safer.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. I'm with you on that. You're right. You can't just say, oh, it's just your thoughts, forget it, move on. That's not okay.
No.
Yeah. But I think people tend maybe to get stuck, and again, maybe out of my lane a little bit here, but people seem to sometimes get stuck thinking that trauma or those past events is them. Like that is them. Like I must, there's
Yeah.
some requirement to carry it, cloak myself in it, engage with it, process it, suffer it. Somehow that's required. So there's a happy medium between processing it and understanding and gaining perspective or peace or closure and cloaking yourself in it, I'm going to say.
Yeah. And also something you said, I was thinking about it actually. And that is that, you could use the example of our thoughts, people saying, oh, you are not your thoughts. So I thought about, people, for example, would say, I have PTSD or I have anxiety, and how they would say that is because this is their experience of life. I
Yeah.
said, I have PTSD. And when someone said, hi, how are you? In my head, I wanted to say, fine, PTSD, how are you? Kind of thing, because that's what it felt like, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But here's this thing that really showed me that PTSD is not me. How do I know it's not me and my identity? Because now that I'm on the other side and I don't have the symptoms, so who am I now?
Right. Right.
Symptoms are there. Who am I now? Therefore, I was never PTSD. And even people who are experiencing symptoms of PTSD or anxiety, that
Yeah.
is not who you are.
Yeah.
Symptoms, thoughts, behaviors, beliefs that are showing up. It's your psychology, but it's up here. It's not you, and it can move through. Experiences move through us, but they're not us. It's
Yeah.
a very important thing to know.
I think you're right. And so finding that balance between having to deal with maybe this past trauma or deal with whatever thoughts are producing your anxiety, you have to do it at some point, but you don't have to be dragged around while it happens, I think. And it doesn't have to become a lifelong thing. And it brings up, it's a little beyond the topic that we're talking about now. We could do another one about this, I think. But like you said, well, now you're on the other side. So you're beyond it now. It's still a part of you and part of your past that you probably honor and in some ways respect because it makes you the Monique I know today to a certain extent. But I know people with the anxiety disorder problems, as they begin to recover and get out of it, they find themselves in this foreign place. Like, now what am I? Now what do I do? Now what do I want to do? I mean, I'm not dealing with this all the time. Now life becomes a blank slate, and that could sometimes be disturbing to people, right? Or intimidating.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what you're doing is you're uncovering who you really are.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's fantastic because you get to decide, what do I like? What am I interested in?
Yeah.
What I want to do? It's very exciting.
It is very exciting. And it's also to some people, I think, stressful, possibly even anxiety producing. It's a little bit terrifying. Like, what do I do now? Now that I don't have to recover anymore, now what do I do?
Yeah. I've heard people say that I work with that it's gotten a lot quieter in here. And it's very scary because they're used to so much noise and suddenly it's quieter. And that, like you said, it can be kind of like uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
And I said, it's peace.
Yeah. Imagine that. I know. It's amazing, right? So I think, to bring it back and that thing that says, okay, you can learn, and I say this all the time, like, just because you can learn how not to be dragged around by your thoughts. These are skills that you can learn, be taught, and practice. So it has nothing to do with just brute forcing them, stuffing them, blocking them out, wrestling them into positive things. these are actual skills. I mean, so I talk about meditation and focus skills and mindfulness skills. I'm guessing you may use the same sort of tools. I don't know.
I don't.
You
No,
don't? Okay.
no. Yeah, we're a little different in that way. I
Mm,
don't know any tools. Big
okay.
revelation, because what I find is that as I am sharing with my clients, they start to naturally fall into this kind of, not a state of meditation, but just a lot more space. And
Hmm.
they get introduced to peace more
Yeah,
easily, because when this quiets down, what's left?
that's so interesting. I would like to think that I'm reasonably sure that my people probably have the same experience, but what I get asked continuously, okay, I understand everything you're saying, but how do I do that? How do I not follow my thoughts?
I know the how to.
The how do I do that? And to me, saying, well, look, you can learn focus techniques, you can learn meditation techniques, breathing, relaxation. These are not shields or cures, but they can at least help you change the way you let your brain operate to a certain extent. Um, but I do think that just accepting this to be true is maybe 40 to 50% of the battle.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So good. What else do we want to talk about?
I wanted to show you my now we shared this like in one of our one of our first tapings. I want to introduce
Yes,
the snow globe again,
yes.
maybe for those who have never seen it.
Okay.
Remember when I first saw it, it was a good illustration of how it works with our thoughts. So I like to call it a thought storm. So a thought storm is when we've got so much on our mind, like 15 things on our mind floating around. And of course, when that's happening, we're
Mm,
feeling it. And oftentimes we think we need to do something with it. So we'll get in there and say, okay, well, I'll grab my list and I'll, whatever it is. We're trying to manage all those things that are in the thought storm.
right.
And what happens naturally without us even getting involved is that when we don't get involved, we
Hmm.
try to get in there, which I feel keeps it going,
Hmm.
it naturally wants to move through or calm down or settle down. It always does.
Right.
So, is an example. So, this is a snow globe. It's my daughter's. It says, Yay!
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, okay, so this is going to be an example of a thought storm. So, I'm going to shake it up,
Right.
really shake it up. And you see, these are our thoughts, a thought storm. Look
Mm.
what happens when you leave it alone. Can you see that?
Yeah, sure. I can see it. Yeah.
So, they naturally settle down. And that's what happens when we don't get in there, when we just
Yeah.
sit and know that naturally we'll just settle down.
That's true. And the shaking is the engaging, right? So
Yeah.
when you're engaging and arguing and I got to think about this, I have to carry this with me. I have to. I've heard people say things like, schedule time to do it. That's a technique I've heard people say. You know what? Give you from 6 p.m. to 6:20 p.m. tonight. This is when I will sit and worry about my stuff.
I don't know what I think about that. I
I
tried
don't
it.
know either. Yeah, I don't know either.
Did I ever tell you that story?
No.
Oh my gosh. In my search for help, there was this something on, I think it was Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
And it said that if you do this particular activity, which was I think it was a personal inventory,
Yeah.
you will be healed of your anxiety and it worked for
Yeah.
people. So I'm in for it. What
Yep.
was every single day you had to wake up in the morning and first thing on your mind, you write down every single fear you have. Well, I did that. Every single fear. Did it day 1, did it day 2. By day 3, I was so bloody anxious.
Yeah.
I wrote this person and I said, I'm feeling so anxious. She said, stop doing it. So that was a really good lesson. And that how I see it now is that I was basically writing out all my fears, putting them on
Hmm.
paper. Then they were within me, floating through my mind. They were coming to life.
Yeah.
I Not necessary.
Well, you want that act because it's so funny. Write down your fears, whether you're writing them, typing them, whatever. When we want to learn new things, we're studying for an exam. People will always say, write it down, write note cards, because it is literally the best way we have to build those neural pathways. So you are literally studying your fear by doing that. Like it's the best learning we have. That's crazy in a way when you think about that.
I was building new pathways. Thank you very much.
Along those lines, it's so interesting. I was unaware that I've been like a practicing Stoic for years without even being blissfully unaware of the philosophy. But one of the things that Stoicism teaches you is a practice called, it's in Latin, like premeditatio malorum, and it's the premeditation of fears, or the worst case. So like Marcus Aurelius and those people would sit down every day in some way and think, today I'm going to encounter people that piss me off, or in the modern world, today I will encounter mean people or ignorant people, or today, I may have money problems, or there will be traffic, I will have to wait online at the bank. You basically prepare yourself for the things that are going to happen today that you can't control. And there's a beauty in it, but there's also the danger of that. So I've had people say, like, that thing where I'm supposed to confront my fears in my head, for some people it works out well, for some people not so much. Yeah, and you're a living proof of, like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe don't do that. Yeah.
I mean, I find now that I understand that our thinking comes to life.
Yes.
I'm going to be thinking about my greatest fears. Well, I'm going to be feeling my greatest fears. No thanks.
Yeah. Why? Right. Exactly. Especially if they've proven to be irrational and baseless to a certain extent. Yeah, I get that. So I think probably that practice, I mean, it's supposed to let you understand that they're irrational and baseless, but I don't know. Anyway, all right, we've gone for like 25 minutes here. That's a bit of a while. So anything else to add, or?
Well, the only thing I can say is I just want to repeat that we are always living in the feeling of our thinking moment to moment, and that you really are safe, that what you're experiencing is normal, and with understanding and gentleness and self-compassion, you're going to be okay. You are okay.
Yeah. I will, I guess, cap it off by saying, in the most simplest terms, this is my way. You do not have to honor every freaking thought you have every moment of the day. It is perfectly okay to think something terribly scary and disturbing and then turn away from it and think something else, or nothing. Like, those are all acceptable things. And I think the sooner we accept that to be more of a natural reality for a healthy human being, probably the better off it's going to be. We do not have.
Because it's very good what you're saying, because when you turn away from it, another thought pops in your mind, you're going to have a completely different experience.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And maybe that thought is one you want to turn away from too. There's also nothing wrong with repeating that process. People, yeah, but they keep coming. Okay, so do that 10,000 times in the next hour if you must. You will learn the skill, and it will become easier and easier and easier and easier. So that's, I think, all I can add. Like, this is so doable. It's so doable, even though it sounds crazy to a lot of people. So anyway, all right, awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time, as always. More time than people even know because of our little technical snafus. And let's mention this. So maybe when we hang up, we'll talk about Instagram for a second. People should, yeah. So Monique, you have a great Instagram account. I love your Instagram account. So where do people find you? I will link it anyway.
Oh, okay. It's called cptsd.recover.coach.
Yes, and it's a great feed, and there's all kinds of gems in there. So my Instagram account is that_anxiety_guy. I had to put the underscores in. Go figure. So we are talking about doing some Instagram live video too, right? So if you guys are watching, I will link us both there, and I'll put all your links in, your Instagram, your website, your Facebook, all that stuff. And that is the podcast. You have a great podcast, yes. But if you start at Monique Colvin Coaching, correct? Has pretty much everything in it. That's where you are.
Yeah, that's right.
Very cool. But so maybe we'll do a little Instagram as soon as we hang up here. We'll try that little experiment. So look for us there.
Fun.
Yeah, very good. All right. I guess we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Monique.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. See ya. Less awkward moment, but still awkward. Ready? Here we go. Hey, what's up, guys? Drew here. In the 5 years that I've done the podcast, I've never had a sponsor. But now it's time for me to put in a little plug for the day job, the business that I own. And that business is Managed WordPress Hosting. So if you have a website and it runs WordPress, and you'd like WordPress hosting that makes WordPress faster, more secure, and way easier than you ever imagined it would be, then check out Helix. You can find us online at iamhelix.com. That's iamhelix.com. We took a long time to build Helix. I'm super proud of it. It works spectacularly. We take really good care of our customers, and I promise we would take really good care of you too. So if you're in the market for WordPress hosting that will blow your mind, check out Helix. I would appreciate the consideration. I thank you for coming by and listening, and I'll see you the next time.